Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of the newly revamped show. The new channel is the Golden State Gaming Network. We're gonna go ahead. I got Katie here. She's gonna help me. She's doing our guest spot. That's her head. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna be reviewing a couple games for you. We're gonna do a little bit of quick gameplay and go over some mechanics. We're gonna be doing Boss Monster, Card Wars, and building an Elder God. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. You guys will stick with us. We are at Comic Quest in Lake Forest, and enjoy the inaugural video, guys. Okay, guys. So I got Katie here. She's finally in frame. We're gonna go ahead. The first game we're gonna be doing is Card Wars. It's the Adventure Time spin-off game. This is the BMO Lady Rainicorn deck. It's the game by Cryptozoic Entertainment, and it's put out by Cartoon Network. So we're gonna go ahead and give that a gameplay. I haven't actually played it yet. I've skimmed over the rules, but Katie's actually played it more than I have. So we're going to go ahead and give this a whirl and see how it goes.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm a student at Saddleback College. I work at Comic Quest, and I really like board games. And I play Munchkin and Ticket to Ride and lots of other things. Yay.
Okay, guys, so Katie's going to go ahead and run us through a quick demonstration of the cards for Card Wars, and she's going to show us the different types of cards and the different components that come with the box.
Okay, so for the BMO versus Lady Rainicorn one, Lady Rainicorn's deck comes with the Sandylands, which are these ones over here, and those are the landscapes that it comes with, and BMO's has Useless Swamps, look like that. And each deck has 4 of them, and they're basically where you play your creatures. But we'll get to that later on.
Okay. So when you play, do you play with any? You just play with the set lands that you have, or can you mix and match lands? Or?
This is the starter set, so it just comes with those 4. But yes, you will be able to once more booster cards come out. Then yeah, you'll be able to mix and match them, which is
okay.
Cool.
And you play with all 4 lands at the same time,
yes.
Right?
But you play with them like that.
So like you've played this before, so would you compare this to Magic or kind of like a simplified version of Magic or with Pokemon or?
Yeah, it's definitely a simplified version of Magic. There are a lot of homages to Magic in like card names and things like that. And like if you're an avid Magic the Gathering player, you'll be like, oh yeah, that card name is really similar. That's really clever that they did that.
And that's kind of where your original background is, right? You do a lot of Magic
stuff, yeah.
Stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So what else comes in the box? No, it comes with both decks, right?
Yeah, it comes with both decks. I've sleeved my cards, but they come like, this is Lady Rainicorn's deck. It comes like with a background like that, and this is a.
So I actually have a box that we
cool.
just opened.
All right, awesome.
So it comes. So your lands basically come on cardstock, and it's got punch-out tokens that I assume we use for scorekeeping.
Yeah.
Okay. So it comes with the punch-out token. So it's actually kind of neat the way they pack this up because you kind of get. They kind of minimize the components into as many parts as they could. So and then you get the decks, and the decks are wrapped up like this, and there's the face side of the deck. Let's see if we can get that in focus a little bit. There we go. And the back of the card, so it's got this symbol on the back, the EN.
It says C. It's really confusing. It's actually CW for Card Wars, but it confuses me all the time.
EN or CW, depending on what language you speak.
Yeah. Or there's like M something, or U3, I guess also. Could be a U3.
So, okay, so you've got your decks all sleeved up, so we're going to go ahead and you want to just run us through a quick mechanic?
Yeah, sure. Here, do you care which deck you want to play?
I don't care.
Okay, here, you can be Rainicorn.
All right.
Because it's prettier sleeves. So, at the beginning, you shuffle your cards like a normal game. And so, for every turn, there's a turn sequence. The first thing is you get ready, you get all of your cards ready, and that is just like come into play effects, things like that, or like at the beginning of your turn effects, which obviously there isn't anything on the field, so that doesn't apply right now. The next thing is you would draw a card, then you have 2 actions. Then you can basically like tap your creatures if they have a tap ability. It's called flooping. And then you have to attack. So first we all draw 5 cards, and that's your basic hand.
And what's the max hand size?
I don't believe there isn't a max hand size, which is cool. Because you can just get a whole bunch of cards.
And you want to go ahead and go over the symbols on the cards real quick?
So, this is, for example, this is my Dr. Death. That's atop, that's the name. This is just the symbol of what, like, deck it goes to. This is just the swamp, the useless swamp symbol. So that just means that it goes with the useless swamp. If you have a multi-landscape deck, it can only be played if you have useless swamps. So I wouldn't be able to play this card on Billy's deck, with Billy's deck, because he only has sandy lands. This is the amount of actions it costs. As I said before, you have 2 actions each turn, so I would be spending both of my actions to play this card because it's a more powerful card. It costs both of your actions. This is what it does. In this case, it destroys a creature you control, and I can tap it or floop it to destroy target opposing creature in this lane. And by this lane, it means like this lane. So these creatures, if I have a creature here and you have a creature here, they're attacking each other. And these ones are going to be attacking each other, and these ones and these ones. Okay. They all like attack each other. And then this is how much it hits for, and this is how much it's, what's the word?
Defense.
Defense, that's the word. That's its defense. Unlike Magic, though, attacks accumulate, which is why you have these little token thingies that I just spilled everywhere. So you just you keep them on top of your card, and that way you can know how much damage your guys have taken, and that way once it gets to 7 in this case, it dies.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So we get 2 actions a turn.
Yeah, so the first thing you do is you draw a card. I'll go first.
Okay.
So I draw a card.
And how do you determine turn sequence?
There's just a set order of what, and it's in the rule book. It just says on page 2, turn sequence. It's also on the back, just in case you want it on the back also. So I also have 2 0-cost cards. These I can play for free. I don't need to spend any actions. They're normally not that great. Like, it has like a 0 attack, but it has 10 defense. So I mean, it's whatever. But it's also rainbow up here, which means that you can play it in any deck, which is pretty sweet. And this one, at the start of your turn, put the top cards of your deck into your discard pile. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. So with my turn, I have 2 actions, and I'm gonna play this Wandering Bald Man right there. And so at the start of my turn, my next turn, when it says for turn sequence number 1 is ready all your cards, that'll happen then. At the start of your turn effects, things like that. And then I'm going to use my other 2 actions to play Dr. Death that I explained earlier. Right there. So then, if I wanted to, actually this is the first turn, so I can't, but normally what would happen next is I can floop, which is I can do this guy's floop ability. This guy doesn't have a floop ability, but this guy does, because it says floop right there. Destroy target opposing creature in this lane. But I can't do that because it's the first turn. And I can't attack because it's the first turn, and that's just how the rules go. But normally you have to attack every single turn.
Okay.
So now it would be your turn.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, draw a card.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and play Sand Eye Bat. And when another creature enters play under my control, Sandy Eye Bat gains 1 defense. And he costs me 2 action points to play, right?
Cool. And then he doesn't have any floop abilities. So now now you fight. So when you fight, you turn it like down there, you turn it like that. If you floop, you put it up here, and if you fight, you put it at the bottom.
Okay.
So what would happen now is your guy's attacking my guy for 1, and my guy attacks back, so both of our guys take 1 damage from each other. So that's just how you keep score. You put these little guys on it. And then this guy, since you don't have anything blocking this, if he had an attack score, he would be doing damage to your face. But he doesn't, because his attack is 0, so nothing happens to you. By the way, we both have 25 life, and the goal of the game is to get the opponent to get down to 0 life.
Okay. So that's pretty nice and pretty straightforward description. The card game looks pretty simple. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pause for a second. We're going to reshuffle our decks, and then we're going to do a sped up, just kind of quick gameplay, give you guys an idea of what goes on with it, okay? So, hold on, guys. Card Wars. This is the Adventure Time themed game. I personally, you've played it before.
I have played it before.
And I have not played it before. I downloaded the app. The app plays kind of silly. They kind of play a little bit similar. There's a few, different things here and there that they're a little bit different. But personally, I liked it. It's a little bit more complicated than I initially thought it was going to be.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, once you get it down, it definitely is a lot simpler than Magic the Gathering. But there are a lot of little intricacies.
Yeah, there's a ton of little intricacies, and the rules are a little bit more subtle. And I think that's kind of what adds a little bit to the complexity. The difference in the gameplay.
I'm such an Adventure Time nerd. I love it so much, and the artwork is it's so adorable.
Yeah,
it really gets to me. Artwork.
I mean, I tried for a couple weeks to pick this game up at Comic Quest, where they initially had it, and I was told that it was and then when I came to expect a copy to be held for me, apparently the staff had bought them all up first. So I actually got lucky, though, and was able to pick it up at the other store that I go to, and in Montclair, and they actually were the only store, I'm not kidding you, every other game store in Orange County was sold out of this game. I had to go to Montclair to pick it up, and I got a deal there because they were having a game day, and I actually got it for 25% off the sticker. So I wound up getting 2 copies of the game for like $30 as opposed to 40, which is pretty good.
Everyone has been waiting for this to be a thing forever. So now that it's finally real.
Now that it's a thing, it plays well, it's compact, everything fits inside of here, and
even with sleeves.
Yeah, even with sleeves, everything fits in here perfectly. It travels well. It's a good, solid box. The gameplay is fun, and once it's one of those games where the more you play it and the more you understand it, I think the more immersed you're going to become in it. And the expansions are coming out pretty soon. I believe they're about a month from dropping the next expansion on it.
I'm so excited.
And it's one of those games that I feel it's going to get a good following. I think this is going to be one of those games that you're going to see tournaments popping up. You're going to see it at events.
Definitely.
You're going to see casual gamers picking this up. You're going to see experienced gamers picking this up. It is kind of a stripped-down version of Magic the Gathering.
I mean, yeah, because it's a parody on it. Like, that's how it started. But I feel like also it might help people bridge in to start playing Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, it may be, it may be one of those gateway games that introduces non-gamers to basically the gaming's, the gaming lifestyle and gets them drawn in and kind of starts them on addicted to card games, which I came from Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, and those were the card games that I played. I played RPGs, I played Dungeons & Dragons until they had changed the rules set in the 90s, and then I stopped playing. Katie, you play Dungeons & Dragons, you play Magic the Gathering.
Yes, I do.
So this is kind of reminiscent. It's fun, it's light, and it's one of those games that kind of reminds me of when I first started playing card games and kind of got immersed in it. So
it's adorable.
Yeah, it's an adorable fun little game, and I think it's going to be fun to play. It says ages 10 and up, but guys, this was this was the first episode of the Golden State Gaming Network. It's a mouthful of stuff to get used to saying it, but the Golden State Gaming Network. This is Katie. Hopefully she'll be back. And, I've got my good friend Richard is going to come on board, and he's going to go over some RPG stuff with you guys. And, Evan Starr is going to go ahead and deal with some Helldorado. So I hope you guys stick around and enjoy that.
Hey guys, my name's Amped Up Emperor, and I'm going to be starting my new series on a weekly basis covering RPG and RPG news. A quick bit about me, I've been playing a lot of Dungeons & Dragons over the years. I've played several other games, including Pathfinder and the Iron Kingdoms RPG, as long as several smaller ones, including Cthulhu Tech. I hope to be starting a Shadowrun campaign soon for the 5th edition, which I will go over eventually if it turns out to be good, and I think it'll be worth doing a video on. Also, I'm also working on a video for Through the Breach for the Malifaux players. I've had a lot of experience with all sorts of games, but I've always found myself really attracted to the RP gaming lifestyle. Not that I really get super into it, I just think it's fun to be able to put yourself in a situation where you can just hang out with a few friends and really participate in an adventure together without technology or having to worry about patches and updates and all that. So, enough about me though, let's get into our first episode covering Dungeons & Dragons next.
When we play, we do it right. Candles flicker, fighting dragons in my mind, just for kicks. DM says you're gonna die. Roll a d6, roll a d6, roll a d6.
Okay, so I'm gonna assume you've all heard of Dungeons & Dragons here if you're watching this video. If not, Dungeons & Dragons is just simple, if probably the most well-known go-to RPG game for a lot of people. You grab a few friends, you roll some dice, you make some characters, you fight some bad guys, you roll initiative, everyone has a grand old time, you kill stuff, you loot the bodies, etc., etc. But the new edition is actually coming out later this year, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, also known as Dungeons & Dragons Next. Now, up until that point, it was actually in a very long beta test, and it is actually technically still in beta. However, the D&D encounters, which are like the Friday Night Magic for Dungeons & Dragons, in which a random group of people, led by a volunteer DM, can get together and run through a multi-week campaign put up by Wizards of the Coast. They are running the most recent edition of the beta rules, but they've already posted on their blog, on their website, wizards.com, about several changes that they are planning to make. Of course, they're kind of minor, so I will say as a disclaimer, the game isn't technically out yet. However, if there are things you don't like about it that are minor, they might actually get fixed. However, if you do not like the game overall as a whole, you find it too simplistic, or you liked 4th edition and it's not like 4th edition, thank God, but that's just my personal opinion, then you probably will not like the completed game. Still, I'd recommend you at least give it a shot, considering they have made some really cool changes, which I'm going to be covering. Now let's get started with the big things that have changed. First of all, let's start with character creation. Now your basics are still there. You roll for stats, you pick your race, your class, your alignment. You don't always have to pick a deity now. Only characters like the cleric and the paladin actually have to pick a deity. Everyone else, it's not really needed. In 3.5 edition, everyone picked one, but it rarely ever came up. And I didn't play a whole lot of 4th edition, but if I remember correctly, that didn't really apply much either. Anyways, after you do that, you pick your race. Now, they've actually added a lot more races. In 3.5, you had your basic elves, orcs, humans, half-elves, etc., etc. But then there were a few more that were added in various campaigns, extra settings, if you would. Now, a few of those have made appearances here, and I'm going to cover them, along with a few that were actually in 3.5, but were only characters that were included in the monster manual or had a level adjustment, which was super complicated to calculate for experience points and stuff like that, so a lot of people didn't use them. They've actually taken some of the cooler, more unique, eccentric races and boiled them down, so I'm going to go over all of those in detail, and then just assume the rest of the average ones are in there. So first let's start off with the Warforged. The Warforged were a race of human-like golems that have consciousness created in the Eberron campaign setting. They had a lot of special rules for the Eberron campaign setting because their armor was actually welded onto them, and they couldn't really wear clothing except for magical robes. This has since been fixed, and now they can wear any armor they want. They can throw on armor, or mithril, or plate, or leather, or anything like that, just like any other character would, without having to worry about special rules. Their racial bonuses are +1 to strength and constitution, and a permanent +1 bonus to AC, on top of the fact that they are both immune to disease, and they don't have to eat or sleep. Overall, I think they had a pretty cool dynamic, and I think you should consider trying one out, especially if you want to go for a tanky fighter type. Alright, next up is the Tieflings. Originally introduced in AD&D or 2nd edition in the Plain Touch campaign, Tieflings are people with demonic ancestry who can see in the dark, have horns, tend to have red eyes, and smell of brimstone. They are pretty good for rogues and fighters, and they get a +1 intelligence and charisma bonus. They can also call upon their demonic blood once per day to overcharge their next spell or attack, giving them advantage on that attacker's spell for 1 round. If you like sneaking around and making intimidation checks, then the Tiefling's the race for you. Alright, next up is the Dragonborn. No. I said no! Created in 3.5 edition in the Book of the Dragon expansion, the Dragonborn were a special breed of people who could pledge themselves to the Platinum Dragon in return for becoming powerful. However, in 4th edition they were changed to just a normal race like everybody else, and are making a return as a starting race in D&D 5th edition. Their bonuses are +1 strength and charisma, they get damage resistance, and a breath weapon based on whatever dragon they choose to be descended from. White gives you ice, brass gives you acid, etc., etc. It also changes the save required from your opponents when they get hit by your breath weapon and the type of damage it does. As for the before-mentioned resistance, that resistance is based off the same element of whatever it is that you're breathing. You breathe fire, you get a resistance to fire. Simple as that. If you like kicking ass, taking names, and then eating your opponents alive, then the Dragonborn is the one you should go with. Alright, last but not least are the Kender. They're basically just modified halflings from the Dragonlance campaign setting with different stat bonuses and racial abilities, but they're more or less the same basic concept. They have some really cool special abilities, like the ability to pull any item out of their pocket when they need it at a 25% chance success rate, and they have their own language, but unless you're playing the Dragonlance campaign, that won't ever come up. There's really not much else to say about them, other than if you want to play a rogue-like character for a halfling, it would probably be best to use a Kender instead. Alright, now that we got the races covered, let's get on to the classes. Overall, the classes are still more or less the same. They do what they always have done. Druids still wild shape, rangers still hunt stuff, fighters still fight, mages still cast spells, and monks still punch the crap out of stuff while bards sit in the back and play music that no one cares about. What makes it different, though, is how you can variate between multiple people playing the same class, especially because they can now choose between various different ways to make themselves different from their partners. Fighters can choose different fighting styles, thieves can specialize in whether assassination or thievery, druids can pick one of two different circles of magic, one specializing in the wild shaping, another one specializing in spellcasting, mages have different schools of magic, rangers can choose how they hunt and their own special fighting style, and monks have their own combat style as well, just to name a few. Overall, though, the classes have made several changes. Rangers and druids no longer get their own special pet. In fact, really no one does, except for the sorcerer who isn't in this packet but is going to be added later on according to the developers, along with the warlock. As far as class balance goes, I really feel like every class does have a fair bit to play in the team. Everyone is capable of doing something, especially if you have multiple people playing the same class. One fighter can be a defender-based fighter and actually block body shots to his teammates to prevent them from taking damage, while the other one can go full two-handed great weapon and swing a heavy sword around that actually deals damage even if they miss equal to their strength bonus, which allows fighters to keep up in damage relatively early on. Eventually they do kind of get outscaled in the late game by spellcasters, but there's really not a whole lot you can do with that. Meanwhile, characters like rogues, rangers, and druids, and really dex heavy based characters as well as the monk, can keep up relatively well just by the sheer amount of attacks they can put out in a single turn, especially because of given feats and other abilities that they gain later on. Now, the biggest change that you're probably going to see is the new feat system. In previous editions, there have been a lot of feats available that you gained every 3 levels, but they weren't always that great, or they were completely broken and required a real amount of power gaming to get maximum use out of them. That has been changed in this edition. Now, feats are gained every 4 levels, the same time you get a boost to your ability stats. Every 4 levels, starting from level 4 to 20, you gain plus 2 points to put into any 2 stats, or 2 points into 1 stat if you want, or you can take a feat. Now, at first it sounds like a bit of a jip on your part. Those plus 2 points that you get could be used to increase your ability modifier of really any stat if you put both points into it, possibly increasing the ability modifier on 2 stats by 1 if they're both at a borderline stat like 17 or 15. However, I will say that the feats that they give you now, while fewer in option, are much greater in power. They do a lot of cool things, and multiple feats are actually more like several older feats rolled into one, so you're not actually getting really gypped, unless it's something that you really feel like you need to increase your stats for to make perfect use of that character. Overall, though, I will say that the feats are really good, and you shouldn't be too off-put by the new changes, especially if you decide to take a feat over increasing your stats. Now, I hope this preview of D&D Next has encouraged you to actually go out and give the game a try yourself. I would highly recommend it, and if you've never played any RPGs before, this might be a good place to start. And if you're a little nervous about it, I highly suggest you go to wizards.com and then go to the D&D section and try and find a D&D encounters in your area. The people that I've met are very good at what they do, and it's very fun. That you pick up and play a character right there. They teach you all the rules. They have all the rules on hand, and you just meet a good community. And I really think that's what you need to play D&D. You need people who share the mind with you, who want to play on a weekly basis. I personally will be going down to Mercenary Market in Costa Mesa. If you're around that area, you're welcome to come by Wednesdays at around 6:30 37 and we play till about 9, if you're interested. If not, well, maybe you can wait for the edition that comes out after that, or maybe if the full edition comes out, as I said earlier, there might be minor changes to some of the minor things you might have problems with that could make or break the game for you. So grab some dice, grab some loot, and slay some dragons. I'm Amped Up Emperor, and I'll see you next time.
Keeping
it wild. In the forest I got style. I'm a level 30 ranger. I've been playing for a while. This is how we live. Every single night.
Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Evan Starr from Play It Painted here, and I'm going to hijack Billy's channel, Golden State Gaming, just to plug one of the series that I'm working on right now. So I'm taking a quick break from painting some of these models here to talk to you about my Introduction to Helldorado series. So that's right, on the Play It Painted channel right now we are covering an Introduction to Helldorado. This will take you through all of the basics of gameplay and explain some of the more unique mechanics of this wonderful 28mm skirmish game. So Helldorado, we'll go over activations, for example. We'll go over the unique features such as the command point mechanic, the domination, the concept of domination. We'll go over lemures and spellcasting, auras, everything that sets Helldorado apart as a skirmish system. And right now is a great time to get into this game. Not only is Helldorado a great game put out by Cypher Studios, now in partnership with Ninja Division, they recently launched a Kickstarter for the Inferno expansion, and we're going to cover some of the information of Inferno in addition to the basic understanding of Helldorado as part of this series. So just inviting you to stop by, check out my channel. It's called YouTube The Evan Starr, or you can find it under Play It Painted. And obviously you'll see some coverage here on the Golden State Gaming Network regarding some quick basics on Helldorado, but for the in-depth coverage, head over to Play It Painted and enjoy the series. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.